Following the attack on the United States on 9/11, the U.S. government restructured its handling of investigating and managing immigration and related activity around the world. It created ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE now has more than 20,000 law enforcement and support personnel in more than 400 offices in the United States and around the world. In 2019, a camera crew was offered access to follow and document what the men and women of ICE do on a daily basis. Every year, ICE removes thousands of immigrants from the United States, the majority for committing crimes.
We're not going to focus on the person that jaywalked down the street. We're talking egregious crimes, murder, sex offenses, child molestation.
The vehicle just pulled up in front of our target house.
How you doing?
But the activities of ICE and its enforcement and removal operations is not without controversy.
Hi, officer.
I go hunting for these ICE agents over here.
We see ICE as an assault on the very character and history of the United States.
A lot of people want to make it out that ICE, ERO specifically, wants to target everybody in the country. They wouldn't come on our radar if they were here just for a better life.
These are the men and women of ICE and the work they do 365 days a year.
Are you going to comply this time?
No.
You're not going to comply?
No.
The human stories behind the headlines.
Let's go home.
And their core mission to enforce America's immigration laws. Beyond borders, inside American immigration.
Showtime.
This time on Beyond Borders, Inside American Immigration, a plastic surgeon with an alleged trail of botched surgeries behind him.
This is not a good guy. They always have their side of the story, but then you have the truth.
A drug importation deal done on the web.
He didn't question anything about it. He just accepted the offer.
And as officers begin a repatriation to West Africa, things start to go wrong.
You always have to prepare for the unknown. This is the last stop in the United States for him.
The ICE Detention Center at Chrome, west of Miami, processes hundreds of cases each month, from simple border crossings to major criminals and gang members from all over the world. This morning, officers are attending a briefing ahead of an operation against a man who has been masquerading as a plastic surgeon.
Well, he's been known to defraud
several people in his community to invest in his business, and in the sums of over $150,000 so far.
So the target for tomorrow morning's operation is a Brazilian national, a self-proclaimed doctor. He allegedly has botched several procedures. One of the victims has come forward and placed a complaint.
I can't believe he's still free and acting like a doctor. I pray to God every single day he have to pay for, because I cannot live like this anymore.
The target is 42-year-old Elias de Oliveira Campos.
He's a guy who works out, so be prepared that he could possibly put up a fight or something like that.
In case he runs, we'll have an exterior perimeter. We have to bring in the Miami team. We'll bring him in. In case he breaks the first perimeter, then we'll have the second perimeter. When our subject steps out of the building, the goal is that the subject does not hit his car. We grab the subject, we search him, we cuff him, put him in the car, and we're gone. Clear and simple.
This will be a shock to him, yes. Tomorrow morning will be a very shocking experience for him, yes.
In Southern California, Officer HQ is attached to one of the busiest ICE facilities in the United States.
We arrest individuals with criminal history on, I would say, a daily basis, numerous individuals. We're very, very busy. Being close to the border here in California, here in San Diego, we're just a few miles away from the world's largest land port, the San Isidro Port of Entry. The busiest, largest land port. So we deal with all this stuff on a daily basis. Keep in mind, we're dealing with individuals, perhaps sometimes with mental disabilities, with heavy criminal history, violent criminal history, assault, weapons history, molestation, children, that sort of stuff. So it could be very dangerous, or it could be just a very easy arrest. We don't know until it happens.
HQ and his colleague Officer Sammy are processing a Mexican national in custody on a drugs offense.
So the individual was apprehended at the port of entry for drug smuggling. He was taken to a local county jail where he was sent before a court and was sentenced. He was in county jail for about a year. We picked him up early this morning, and now we're beginning the process of potential removal from the country.
Ahora vamos a tomar tus huellas, ¿vale? We basically take his fingerprints, we submit them to this biometric system, and that's going to tell us, for one, that he's already been encountered by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and it's going to do a query, a search, and that's going to let us know if he had any other encounters, if he's had any criminal convictions or just entries into the United States. So it allows us to know his history.
Sammy soon learns the serious nature of the crime. This is no street deal.
Según dicen mi discovery que traía 11 kilos.
12 kilos? O 11? ¿De qué?
De cocaína.
11 kilograms of cocaine that's worth up in the high dollars, especially the further they get into the U.S.
Because of the seriousness of his offenses, I don't believe he will qualify to be released at this time, and he will end up at our detention center pending his immigration court hearing.
The team need the man to undergo some further questioning. They want to know where he got the drugs and if he's linked to some bigger players. It's early morning in Florence, Arizona. The local Special Response, or SRT team, is being briefed about a flight.
So we got an HRT this morning. We're doing a removal flight. Flight time's at 0730, so we got plenty of time, not anticipate any problems. Let's do it.
The subjects of the removals have all exhausted their appeals against removal from the United States. All are criminals and are classified as high risk.
So as these guys come out, we'll be grabbing them one by one, patting them down, and putting the top portion of the wrap on, leg shackles, and the handcuffs. And then we'll load them on the bus and on our way to Mesa Gateway. All right, 10-4, we're going.
The transports travel in convoy to avoid any possibility of interception.
Shift right one. On this one, there's approximately 5 vehicles in this SHRC, which is special high-risk charter flight. When we get to Mesa Gateway, we'll have another SRT team from Dallas, Texas, that will be flying with these individuals. And you're kind of shocked at what some of these guys are capable of doing to other individuals. Of course, you know, it is sad when you have an individual that is separated from his family due to his actions. That also happens with United States citizens that are separated from their families. When they commit crimes, they go to prison for so many years. But, you know, there's many people that come into the United States legally, and they do it the right way, and that's the only way that it should be done.
This morning we have 8 folks that are from either Gambia or the Ivory Coast. They are all failure to comply, and what that means is ICE has attempted to remove them in the past via commercial aircraft, and either the subjects have refused to board the aircraft with physical force or caused such a disturbance on the aircraft, we've been asked to deboard the aircraft and get off the plane. So ICE has taken the steps to charter an aircraft or we will put these individuals on and have ICE officers escort them back to their native countries. You always have to prepare for the unknown. These folks, again, have violent histories. This is the last stop in the United States for them. So you always have to be cautious of either gang members or family members that may try to do something to free them at the last moment.
The plane is due to leave at 07:30. Within 24 hours, the men will have been repatriated to West Africa. But officers have just encountered a major problem. It's 4 a.m. in Miami. Carlos and the team are preparing themselves ahead of this morning's operation.
All right, guys. Our target should be home right now. He's been home every day around this time, but most likely we won't see him until 10 o'clock, so be prepared for a long surveillance day. Coop's gonna have eyes. As soon as he says he sees the guys, I want Team 5 to start moving on foot and everyone else to do a slow roll in. As soon as we get up to the guy, we all collapse on him, and hopefully we have a safe takedown, all right? Waking up at 4 in the morning is a daily routine for me. It's not too many jobs where you could literally make a difference on a daily basis. You know, I get to wake up every morning and take criminals out of our community.
For ICE officers, it's a short drive to the home of Elias de Oliveira Campos, the man who's been masquerading as a plastic surgeon.
He's pretending to be a doctor, and he's going around putting silicone injections in people's faces, and this poor lady went to his clinic thinking that she is gonna get Botox injections, and now she has permanent disfigurement in her face, and she deals with pain, very bad pain on a daily basis.
The team has set up its Stakeout at Elias Campos's address. Officer Cooper has line of sight to his apartment.
See where those lights are on the first floor and the second floor? That second floor, that's his actual door. Cooper's literally right in front of it. And as soon as he calls it out, we're just gonna start rolling. The people in the back, those two guys, they'll come out and they'll try to stop him from running back towards his door. If he ran back towards his door, slams the door in our face, it's game over for us.
It's now just a matter of waiting. It's 7:15. A female has just left the apartment.
His wife just left. I was expecting that. She typically goes to work around 7:30. You know, he's probably selling her a dream too. You got this handsome guy, drives around in a Mercedes. Who knows what he tells her? She probably believes he's a real doctor.
2 hours later, there's movement at the apartment. A man approaches the stairs shaking 2 cans.
It appeared to be spray paint, and he is walking back upstairs to the subject door.
That maintenance man was just allowed in, so that's a good thing, because at least we know there's someone inside, and we assume is our target. Yeah, we'll call it lucky, even though we've been out here 6 hours. Lucky would have been if he did it at 7:30.
Officer Cooper has spotted the target at the apartment.
He left the door open for a little while. We saw him at the door, but then he just shut the door, and I'm not sure what he's doing at this moment.
The wait continues. Carlos is unsure if his target is going to appear at all. Tucson, Arizona. The target, a 21-year-old convicted human trafficker. Human trafficking is the trade of humans, most commonly for the purpose of forced labor, sexual slavery, or commercial sexual exploitation for the trafficker or their criminal associates. Government and NGO statistics indicate that the magnitude of forced labor surpasses that of forced prostitution in Mexico. Groups considered most vulnerable to human trafficking in Mexico include women, children, indigenous persons, and undocumented migrants. Mexican trafficking victims are also subjected to conditions of forced labor in domestic servitude, street begging, and undocumented construction work in both the United States and Mexico. The officer briefs the ICE team about possible escape routes the suspect could take if he sees them and flees.
We're going to be making an entry to the main door. As you consent, we need to cover the back and the east side of the house because this is a short fence here. We don't want him jumping that fence and making an escape through this side over here. We all gonna be using comms on Volkswagen 4. If we have an emergency, we need to, at some point, go to a hospital. We're always gonna be going to Spanish University Medical Center at 1501 North Campbell Avenue in Tucson, Arizona.
Officers can't take any chances when it comes to firepower.
This is a pretty standard lockbox that we use for a sedan. This is a standard issue government M4 carbine rifle, 30-round magazine. This is actually a model that's made by FN, pretty good piece. It's got a light here, collapsible stock, aim point red dot sight right here, and then if that ever goes down, it's got what they call pop-up backup iron sights. This would be my body armor. On my vest, I've also got 2 pairs of handcuffs here, a multi-tool, a flashlight, extra magazine for the pistol, my OC spray, and I keep an extra mag for my rifle right here. This is what I consider my enforcement vest or my running vest. I call it that because I keep it as lightweight as possible. And then underneath here, I keep my entry vest, and that is what I would use if I was going to be going into a hardened structure. And that's this one right here. As you can see, I've got more ammunition on this. It's a ton heavier, but if I had to be in a shootout or a firefight, I would much rather have this on. So you just have to kind of weigh your threats and weigh the possibilities of what you think might happen that day. And that's kind of how I choose what gear I'm gonna be wearing. For today's operation, this one's gonna stay in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and go with my lighter setup.
ICE officers must train to a higher standard than regular law enforcement police. Each officer must fire their weapons 4 times a year and to reach a designated qualifying score to remain operational.
At this time, load and make ready 1 12-round magazine. Police!
Today, so I'm doing my quarterly qualifications, scheduled every quarter, never missed. Come over here, we check in with the firearm instructors, supervisors. So today we'll be shooting very up close. We'll be shooting from behind, simulating a barrier on the left and right, and also going from the knee. Everything is timed. We'll shoot with our strong hand, weak hand. We try to hit all aspects of marksmanship while we're out here.
Going hot. Eyes clear. Let's hear those police calls. Good. Police! Check point.
The perfect SRT operator not only is a good deportation officer within enforcement removal operations, but it's also a person that can understand what is needed inside the community and show that restraint, along with having the high skill and mentality to perform in a highly delicate situation. Anytime that there's a use of force and the special response teams are for that high level use of force, they need to know when to be able to do what they need to do and when not to. Approximately every 2 to 3 months, we put them on a special high-risk charter, which will be them traveling across the world for anywhere between 8 to 24 hours, where they have to sit and watch detainees on flights. We also have operations here where we issue 1326, which is reentry after deportation criminal warrants, in which case we need to be able to either go into the houses or have a high-risk stop. We also use them for any type of issues when it comes to a detention facility and also for security in our building.
In San Diego, the team carries out a dummy run.
We're getting ready outside. They're lined up in the stack, as we call it. And they can make the knock and announce, identify themselves as police at the door.
Police report! Come to the door!
That time has lapsed. Now they're gonna open the door with a proper tool. The team has now came in. They're gonna pretty much scan the area and see what there is. in the immediate room that they're in now, as you see them right there, pretty much positioning themselves, identifying, who's got what, the closed door, the open door.
Support 1. Moving. That door to the right. Moving. Get the left. Clear. Support. Support 2. Support 2.
Checking door. Door check. All clear. All clear. Last room.
Doors are open, you need at least 2. Somebody go in with you. You can't go in by yourself. So that's why the third man was waiting outside the door waiting for that support. So as you notice, that number 4 guy came in, he was able to go inside after that.
All clear. Last room.
Back in Tucson, Officer Peter is en route to pick up the human trafficker.
And I'm gonna set up where he told me to, which is right behind the eye. So Ricky's gonna have the eye, and we're gonna pull surveillance until roughly 7 p.m.
Turn right onto East Callejas Marbles, and the destination is on your left.
At the residence of the Chevy Silverado.
Officer Peter describes the suspect as a coyote.
A coyote, somebody that knows the path, knows the trails, and they get paid by the head, meaning by the individual body that they move, by the cartels, and to get people basically to what they call a loadout spot, which is where a vehicle will come and they'll get in. And then the dude will either get his own ride back or maybe just walk back and then get another load and keep on doing it. Apparently, it looks like this guy got caught at it. People see ICE at their door, they just won't open the door, period. And that went on for years with Telemundo and all these other networks and advocacy groups letting them know, hey, you don't have to answer the door, which I don't have a problem with because they don't. If it's an administrative warrant, you can arrest people on an administrative warrant all day as long as they're in public. But a man's home is his castle, as they say. And that is the most difficult place to get access to, which it should be. We are a country of laws. We have a Fourth Amendment. And that's another misconception a lot of people have. They think, well, this guy's an illegal alien. He doesn't have constitutional rights. That's absolutely not true. The Constitution covers anybody on this soil. It doesn't matter where you were born at. So, for people to think that is actually kind of misguided as well. And you have to keep all those things in mind when you're out here working.
The activities of ICE and its enforcement and removal operations is not without controversy.
Don't think twice, melt the ice. Don't think twice, melt the ice.
ICE as an institution is very recent. Since only 2003 or so, we had this institution become really rogue, one of the most distrustful, one of the most duplicitous institutions in the American government.
People are not always well informed on what we do. People sometimes think that we're out there just to go grab these people who are here illegally trying to make a better life for themselves and remove them, deport them, and we treat them in the worst possible ways. You see a lot of the quote-unquote bad that ICE does, which is, the perception people have, but people don't always see the good that we do too.
Under Obama, there was some discretion where you're working at a food processing plant. Could we go through all this process? Yes, we probably could. Are you a priority? Do we want to separate you from your family? No. Since 2017, everyone is fair game.
ICE in general, whether it be Homeland Security investigations or myself within enforcement removal operations, target for the criminal element within the United States. If you are the person that jumps the border and gets away from the Border Patrol and finds his life all well and good inside the United States, you probably will never have a contact with enforcement removal operations.
I have gone to the border too, in El Paso and in Tucson. I witnessed what they go through. There's no place to go. They have to leave their country. And we should be a little bit more humanitarian in the way we're treating them.
It is illegal to come into the country, illegally, jumping the fence, violating your visa. That is what our job is meant for. But it is not something we go and attack every day. About 60% of our population is going to be someone that's come in contact with the police or has some type of criminal background.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, it's an out-of-control rogue agency with little accountability that is tearing the fabric of our immigrant community apart.
In San Diego, officers HQ and Sammy are questioning the Mexican national who's in custody on drug smuggling offenses. He's claiming he got the job online.
Prácticamente como ve que ahora con lo que ocurre eso del Face, pues que salen cosas ahí que lo engañan a uno. Salió pues una persona diciendo que ocupaba llevar cosas, encomiendas de aquí para allá. Y así fue como me engañaron y llevaron mi carro para, según tomarle fotos para asegurar que yo iba a regresar. Y ahí fue donde me pusieron las drogas cuando yo crucé.
Subject alleged that he was contacted by somebody on Facebook, a social media platform, just to bring in what he thought was miscellaneous items. He didn't question anything about it. He just accepted the offer. He claims he was going to get paid $300 to just bring anything. My experience, I also know that sometimes that tends to be not true, simply because of the fact that he allegedly brought cocaine on with him. And knowing what these guys bring up, cocaine they just don't give to anybody on the first time. So it's a little bit hard for me to believe that, that he didn't know what he was bringing up.
Les ha afectado mucho, claro, yo sé, pues con la situación que pasó ahorita y más ahorita que estoy corriendo el riesgo pues de que voy a perder mis papeles, no voy a poder estar otra vez con mi familia y eso pues duele mucho, ¿verdad?
Philadelphia. The target, a 36-year-old Mexican national in the U.S. illegally and a known drug trafficker.
All right, guys, we're gonna have a pre-op for our operation tomorrow. After coming into the United States illegally the first time, he got into the drug trafficking business. He ultimately got 2 convictions. One, he got probation. The second one, he got 5 years incarceration in state penitentiary. At the conclusion of his 5-year sentence, he came into ICE custody and we removed him back to Mexico as an aggravated felon. Well, guess what? He's back again, all right? We have information that puts him in South Jersey at this time, so I don't think we're gonna just show up when he's working. The kitchen area locks from inside the restaurant and out the back, so we don't want him to give him the opportunity to lock himself into that kitchen. So I think the plan will be to pick him off either as he's getting dropped off at the business or just shortly after he comes out of the house.
At Mesa Gateway Airport, Phoenix, a plane chartered to deport 8 African nationals is still on the runway. Departure time had been 7:30 a.m., but ICE officers have run into diplomatic problems. The Gambian consulate is holding up the entire operation.
We were just told that the Gambian consulate wanted to talk to a couple of the individuals that are getting removed.
Fortunately, last minute, there was some issues with the landing permits in the Ivory Coast. So currently the aircraft crew, as well as ICE Air Operations, is working through diplomatic channels to try to get those landing permits approved.
You gotta be fluid in this job. You're supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time, and then you could be there waiting for a couple of hours, minutes, depends on the issue that arises.
If permissions don't go through, the plane and the passengers could be stuck in the Arizona desert for the foreseeable future. In Miami, the stakeout for the phony plastic surgeon is now over 6 hours old.
Subject opened the sliding glass door, took a look out.
Then, suddenly,
Subject just came out of his apartment, and he's locking the door as if he's going to come down to the car. So everybody, you ready for the call? All right, out of job, move in.
Turn around. Turn around.
Okay.
Just We got our target in custody. We're placing them in handcuffs right now. We're just doing a safety check with the officers. So yeah, everything went well. Luckily, there was no incidents.
Took a little while, but it worked out. But sometimes that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It's that's the nature of the beast, part of the job. So.
Otay Mesa Detention Center, San Diego. Officer James explains the setup and the protocol.
The Otay Mesa facility is an ICE detention center for detainees at multiple stages of the immigration process, from their initial appearance with an asylum officer all the way through their complete hearings with an immigration judge. We have 69 different countries represented here at Otay today. 258 from Mexico, 251 from Cameroon, 90 from China, 70 from Honduras, 63 from El Salvador. We also have 55 Indian nationals and 53 Guatemalans. We're here to make sure that they're treated in a fair, humane way and make it through the legal process that the government has provided. The individuals will go through the intake process here in this area. Once they get to their housing unit, then they're going to be scheduled for an interview with an asylum officer if they've claimed fear. So they have their interview with an asylum officer. If they have a positive determination of fear, what will then happen is they'll get referred to the immigration judge for a full hearing, where they'll go through that process. If they get a negative determination of fear, then they will have the opportunity to request a review by an immigration judge and have that review done, and if they lose that one, then they'll be removed. Well, if they lose their case, then they are going to be returned back to their home country. There's multiple ways that can be done. If they have a criminal record, then they'll be escorted by one of our officers. If they don't, we put them on a plane and we'll verify their departure from the last U.S. port. We have flights, regular flights down to Central America, and in the case of any Mexican nationals who are in custody that are being removed, we take them down to the port of entry and we return them over to the Mexican officials.
In Phoenix, Arizona, a message suddenly comes across the radio.
Oh. That just got into our front of our residence.
A vehicle just pulled up to the residence, so maybe this is somebody that's going to pick this guy up. There you go. So a car just pulled up to the house and he's watching it right now.
We got a young male with a white shirt, white hat, could be our target. And we need to follow this vehicle. It's going to come out of the cul-de-sac because it could be our target. It matched the description of our target, but I couldn't see the face. The same height, skinny, 150, we don't even know.
The pursuit is on.
So we're gonna go ahead and try to get a positive ID. And if this is the target, we'll go ahead and conduct a traffic stop and hopefully, okay, they're gonna go ahead and make the stop coming up here.
The signal to move in on the suspect is given.
Keep your hands where I can see them. Step out, step out. Okay, so we just conducted a vehicle stop. It turned out the passenger of this vehicle was our target that we were looking for. We placed him in restraints, searched him for weapons or hard objects, and now he's being transported to our holding facility, and he'll be processed from there.
The bigger the deal is, the bigger the money you make, you know? The bigger the people you send, the bigger money it is. The more you have in the car, the bigger you get a check. Like for two, it was 3,000 plus 1,000 they put on your pocket for expenses. And then they buy you the car, you know, any car you want.
In Phoenix, Arizona, Officer Alejandro briefs his team about 3 dangerous fugitives that have evaded capture.
All right, good morning, guys. As you guys know, this morning we will be targeting for arrest 3 targets. The second target is a 36-year-old Mexican male who has been removed as well on 3 occasions.
The ICE officers are on the move.
Once we get closer, we'll know where people are positioned up. and we'll make a determination where we need to post in preparation for the departure of this individual.
Repeat offenders are a top priority for ICE officers. Anyone previously deported by ICE is committing a felony offense if they re-enter the United States. The suspect is spotted getting into a two-tone pickup truck.
The old box style F-150, it's 1995, I believe. It's two-tone. He's got a brown strip just above the running boards, and it's all white. It looks like the tango driver.
With a positive ID, the officers begin pursuit.
2 cars behind you. He's gonna have 2 small children, a wife or a female, and then another smaller child.
We'll be reinstating his previous removal. There's a criminal implication in this case because he is unlawfully re-entered after having been previously deported, and that is a felony offense. What we'll do is present the case criminally through the United States Attorney's Office in Federal District Court and seek a conviction under 1326, illegal re-entry after deportation.
The team take the suspect out of the vehicle without incident.
Buenos días, señora. Somos oficiales de migración, okay? So, señora, usted no maneja, ¿sí? Okay.
After a search for any weapons, the suspect is brought back for processing.
¿Y usted se puede llevar el troque con todo y tráiler? ¿Tiene licencia de conducir? He stopped on the street. One of our officers approached him on the driver's side, identified him. The wife is an individual that we're going to exercise favorable prosecutorial discretion on her. She does have the children. The children were probably en route to school, so we're going to allow that the wife to continue on her way with the children.
Back at the processing station, officers make a startling discovery about the suspect's background.
The individual that was driving the landscaping truck that was accompanied by his wife and his children, he's actually one of the targets that we had already identified as the documented gang member. He was documented as a member of the Wetback Power 8th Street gang, and so it's great to have obviously been able to take him off of the streets and taking him, outside of the community.
ICE officers have actively targeted organized gangs in the United States as part of Operation Community Shield since 2005. By 2011, over 33,000 gangs were believed to be operating in the country. In 1999, Hispanic Americans accounted for 47% of all U.S. gang members, African Americans 34%, and non-Hispanic whites 13%. Many street gangs actively recruit among illegal immigrants. Nearly 8,000 street gang members have been arrested by ICE during the course of operations since 2005. Back in Philadelphia, the team make their way to the suspect's last known whereabouts.
Truck's leaving. Looks like the brother-in-law's driving. He put the kid in the back. I assume the Tango got in the passenger seat.
We think that the target is in the passenger seat, but there's also a kid in the car, possibly 2 years old. So we don't want to make this encounter with a child in the car. We don't have to. So we're going to try to follow the vehicle here and see where it goes.
Each pursuit is different. And with a child in the car, this one gives officers something completely different to think about. Officers need to exercise extreme care. Suddenly, the order comes through on the radio to apprehend the suspect.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Police, let me see your hands. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up.
Open the door.
Don't move.
Bring
I
it
know
out.
you got a baby in the car, okay?
Put your hands back. Get your hands back.
Up here.
Please squeeze
This baby.
Car and park.
Don't move, all right? Okay.
You understand what's going on?
All we're worried about is your daughter, okay? That's all we're worried about right now. That's all I'm worried about. Do you have any guns, drugs, or anything in the vehicle? No? Okay. Do you have permission to be in the United States? Okay. But you've never been arrested before, right? All right.
Now Officer Bryan must make another snap decision: to detain the driver of the vehicle or let them go on their way.
The driver of the vehicle, he is also unlawfully in the United States. We're taking his information so that we can put it in our report. He has a young daughter in the vehicle, so we're not going to take any action on him. We're going to continue to process the individual here. In a second, we're going to Mirandize him because there will be a criminal prosecution. And once we can get this wrapped up, we're going to get out of here as quickly as we can.
Back in processing, the subject admits to his criminal past, but claims he's just in the United States to work.
Fui un criminal, a lo mejor en su momento fui una persona que no querían aquí, pero yo creo que si yo estuviera haciendo las cosas mal, tienen derecho a sacarme, pero yo no las estoy haciendo mal y las 2 veces han ido a sacarme de mi trabajo.
When asked what he will do when he gets deported, he says he'll come straight back again, but this time it will be different.
Mire, yo le voy a decir una cosa, el día que yo quiero entro aquí y sin que ellos en la frontera no me hallan. Aquí a lo mejor cometí unos errores que ellos dieron conmigo.
Officer Bryan reflects on his decision to apprehend the suspect today.
All law enforcement officers are cognizant of minors, and whenever we can make an arrest without minors present, obviously we try to do that. Today it didn't work out that way, but we did everything we could to keep the minor safe and the minor's father there with the minor to handle the situation. He too is unlawfully in the country, and we're going to process his information, but arresting him was not the right call today because he's got to be there to take care of his child.
In Miami, Elias, the fake plastic surgeon, is being processed.
Não, isso não é correto. Eu tinha doutores que faziam botox. E eu referia, quando não tinha pessoas trabalhando, doutores trabalhando comigo, eu mandava pela clínica. Eu não sei mais o que fazer, eu estou preocupado porque é minha vida, não? Uma ex-sociedade que eu tinha antes. Antes eu tinha ex-sociedade, aí eu cerrado acesso à sociedade e essas pessoas estão tentando me matar. Já me tentaram me matar 4 vezes na caça e já me colocaram na cárcere com maldade.
Aqui nos Estados Unidos?
Yes.
You know, he's going to be pleading for sympathy. But I've talked to many of his victims already. I've seen pictures. This is not a good guy. I'm happy that I took him off the streets. And they always have their side of the story, but then you have the truth. And sympathy does not equate to innocence. So in this case, I'm happy that we got him in custody, and hopefully we can effect his removal.
10 a.m. in Phoenix. As the Arizona heat is already in the 80s, 3 hours behind schedule, ICE officers finally get the go-ahead for the departure of the 8 African deportees to be repatriated to Gambia and the Ivory Coast. The holdup has caused an expensive refueling and a lot of hanging around. Now it's time to get the passengers on board.
We're going to drive the van over to the aircraft, and then we're going to unload them one by one. Another individual is going to confirm the identity of each person by name and A number and photo ID, and then we'll board them on the plane and so on with the next person.
But there's another problem. One of the passengers is refusing to get on the plane.
So we're almost ready to go. When we were working on the landing permits, the detainee became uncooperative and is now refusing to board the aircraft. He is claiming he cannot go back to Gambia because he wants a second chance and he doesn't have any money to start over there, and is making threats that he will not go back to Gambia and he will resist all efforts with physical violence. And staff are behind me now speaking with him, attempting to de-escalate the situation.
Tell you, go back my property. Because I know what we're going to do. We're just going to relax right now. We're going to have a seat and just chill out, okay?
The man, who has a significant criminal history, has exhausted all of his legal appeals in an attempt to remain in the U.S.
If we can't talk him off the ledge here, staff will use the least amount of force necessary to get him on the aircraft, secure him to the aircraft, and make sure that he's safe.
With time running out, the team are left with no choice. Now, over 4 hours late, the ICE team needs to ensure the plane takes off, but the prisoner isn't going easily.
Despite all the ruckus, the flight's still carrying on with its mission, and we're going to repatriate these folks to their native countries.